From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Catalina Gomez, the Program Assistant at the Hispanic Division of the Library of Congress. I am doing this small presentation on behalf of Dr. Georgette Dorn, who unfortunately cannot be here with us today. But the Hispanic Division and the Hispanic Cultural Society of the Library, we're very proud to present this lecture today. We're very excited. We have here with us Ms. Mirta Gomez, musician and musicologist, who will be talking to us about the Tumba Francesa in Cuba. Mirta Gomez received her early piano training from her mother in her native Cuba. She continued her musical education at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music and the Juilliard School in New York City. Ms. Gomez's recent performances include recitals at the Leo S. Bing Auditorium at the Los Angeles County Museum in LA, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the Noon Concert Series in San Francisco, California, and at the Colony Theater in Miami Beach, Florida. The most recent recital was in Ontario, Canada. Ms. Gomez was honored by the internationally acclaimed Cuban composer Tania León, who wrote Satine, a work for two pianos especially for her. Ms. Gomez also lectures on the music of her native Cuba and other Caribbean countries, and she recently lectured in Guadeloupe in French at the Conference on Cuban Composers of the 19th and 20th Centuries. She has been a visiting professor at the universities in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Portland, Oregon, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the Graduate Center City University in New York. She also lectures on Latin American and American composers, as well as she also performs recitals, and recitals that include the standard repertoire and 19th and 20th century Cuban music. Recently, Ms. Gomez joined the Piano School of New York City faculty, and this was in 2005. We're really delighted to have her here. One last thing before we begin, I'm going to ask all of you to please turn off your cell phones or any electronic devices that may interfere with the lecture. And also, we want to let you know that we have a signing sheet on right outside this room, where if you guys are interested in finding out more about the Hispanic Division events, you are welcome to sign that signing sheet. So if everyone please join me in welcoming Mirta Gomez. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and so we can all join forces with the Tumba Francesa in Cuba. First of all, I want to say a few things that I'm going to be discussing today. First of all, the word that you're going to be listening a lot is transculturation. It's a word that came out in the 1940s in Cuba by the famous ethnomusicologist and ethnologist Don Fernando Ortiz. And I'm going to tell you briefly what transculturation means. The transculturation word is the evolution of things joining together. For example, in this case of the Tumba Francesa, it's not just one thing. It is Congo, Africa, France, Europe, Haiti, Caribbean, and then Cuba. So all this melange of cultures, dances, languages, and religion is what made transculturation what it is. So keep that in mind. When I call transculturation, you know exactly what I'm talking about, the melange of few things joined together to make one big thing. However, I want to point out that recreational societies is actually what it is, or the Tumba Francesas, is secular in character. It's not really religious. It might have a little bit of certain things, that connotation that you might think, oh, it might be a religious thing. No, it's not. they put a picture of the Virgin, and they put a picture of a saint, but it doesn't mean that it's based on religion itself. The Tumba Francesa developed in Cuba after the Haitian French immigration in 1791. That's when the revolution in Haiti took over, and the slaves were very upset with their French owners, and the whole thing began right then and there, 1791. This was actually the end of the 18th century. However, there are two immigration. The 18th century immigration, which is the most important one, but then Cuba have another immigration from Haiti in the 1920s. But we're focusing today on the first one, 18th century, because it's actually where the Tumba Francesa came from. So first of all, we're going to listen to three composers that I'm sure you all know: Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart. Bach is Baroque. Beethoven and Mozart are classical. And I said that the Beethoven piece is classical because Beethoven music is right in the middle of the classical period and the romantic period. But this minuet in G was written during the classical period. So we have one Baroque and two classicals, three minuets. Now we have Mr. Ludwig von Beethoven. Mozart Minuet in harpsichord. I hope you enjoy it. I saw some of you with your eyes closed, relaxing. Well, you might be thinking, why this composer and why these pieces of Baroque time and classical period have to do with las Tumba Francesas? Well, the transculturation of the Tumba Francesas is not only about continents or countries. It's not about Africa and Europe, or Haiti and Cuba and Congo. It's also about the particularities in his dances, his song, and his music. That's also what makes transculturation very important. When I refer to Congo, it's because the people who started the dances and the Tumba Francesa are originally from Congo, that part of Africa. There is no other part of Africa that really study and work on the Tumbas Francesas. So let me explain to you basically the two types of Tumba Francesas. There's only in Cuba, in the province of Oriente. One of them is called La Caridad de Oriente, and the other one, that's in Santiago de Cuba, and the other one in Guantanamo, Santa Catalina de Risis, La Pompadour. Now, this is very funny because actually these slaves, while they were in Haiti before 1791, remember the revolution started in 1791, and that's when they migrate to Cuba with their owners, the French owners. They were they brought coffee plantation and sugar plantation to the province of Oriente. These slaves watch their owners dance every night these court pieces, this minuet. Every single night they have beautiful homes and they have parties and they dress up and they dance these court dances of the 18th century. While they were washing them, it is said, I don't know if it's true, I was not there, but it is said that they were making fun of them. Now, the only difference is that these people dress up as their owners, as the French owners, and dance the minuet, but not with harpsichord, not with piano, but actually dance it with the sound of tumbas. Tumba is drums. So the tumbas francesas means French drums. So first of all, before I go on and explain to you the different kind of dances, the way they dress, there is also a way they wear in their head certain kind of handkerchief. One is made of cotton, the other one is made of silk. You can tell the kind of level in society that this lady had. The poor one used a bandana made out of cotton. The rich one, the bandana was made out of silk. The knot, some of them use a knot back here, some of them knotted at the front. All that is just for beauty, for elegance, got nothing to do with religion. Again, the tumbas francesas are secular in character, not religious. I'm going to play for you some songs. Let me explain to you before we listen to the songs. All of the songs are sung in Creole, Patois, and Cuban Patois. You're going to say Cuban Patois? Yes, Cuban Patois. I'll tell you why. Because when they came and they spoke their own Patois, they start listening to some Cuban words in Spanish here and there. Plus, they mingle with the slaves in Cuba who were not from Congo, but were from Nigeria, which is another different ball game. So they listened to them, they listened certain words, and they incorporated those words to their songs. So the songs we're going to listen today, this afternoon, they are Cubans. They are not Haitian songs. So you're going to hear sometimes a mixture of Cuban patois, because it's a mixture of the patois they brought from Haiti, plus one or two Cuban words or Spanish words in that song. There are three kinds of dances, and because of the dances, we also have three kinds of songs. We have Yuba, Y-U-B-A, Yuba, which is the eldest and the closer to the French culture. Then we have maison, from the word maison, house. And then we have fronte or frente. Somebody says to you, another musicologist, or somebody says to you, oh, frente, and another say fronte, is the same thing. So we're going to listen to the songs first, okay? All these songs have something in common. They start with a composé. The composé is the soloist. They all start with a composé, one singer, followed by the choir. So it's the composé, then the choir. After that, one of their instruments called kata, C-A-T-A, is a Congo instrument, which is from a tree trunk. They cut a piece of wood from the tree trunk. They make sure they empty it inside, and they make a little hole on top, and with two little sticks, you have a very specific sound. So I'm going to point it out to you, and you will also see it when I show the audio, the video part. We're going to listen to Yuba, which is the first and principal song of the Tumbas Francesas, and the oldest one.
Mapale valide, mapale valide, mapale valide, bon dia bahide mue, la la la, la la la, la la la, bon dia bahide mue, pale valise, mapale valise, mapale valise, bon dia bahide mue, la la la, la la la, la la la, bon dia bahide mue. Pale valise, mapale valise, mapale valise, bon dia bahide mue, la la la, la la la.
This is a different kind of rhythm. This is rhythmic pattern of the Yuba. All three start, remember, with the composé, then the choir, then the kata. You heard a little bit of the kata because the kata is a solo, the first instrument that gives the okay for the tumbas to start. We have three kinds of tumbas. The big one, they are all rounded. The big one is the principal, the big one, the most important one. And that's called the premier or mamonier. Premier or mamonier is the same thing. It's like fronte, frente, the same thing. Then we have the secondier, still rounded, but it's a little smaller. The bula, rounded, smaller, is the bebe. The secondier is the second, and bula the bebe, and then of course the kata. So the kata starts first, And then right after the premier or mamonier, the secondier, the bula or bebe. And sometimes we also have one that is called tambora, that they put it around their neck, and it's like a rounded thing. It's very petite around the neck, and you also play that. Now, we also add the chachas. They are like little maracas, okay, but made out of metal. And the chachas are only played by women, okay? So we're gonna listen to the second song, which is Maison. The first one was Yuba, now it's Maison.
Mue ribeyo dila, pumue saludaba sayamue.
Patois.
Sayamue bonsoir. Mue ribeyo dila, pumue saludaba sayamue bonsoir. Si no pa compran que parol mape pale nula, respondan, digan bonsoir. Mue ribeyo dila,
Te composé.
saludaba sayamue bonsoir.
Choir.
Mue ribeyo dila, pumue saludaba sayamue bonsoir. Si no pa compran que parol mape pale nula, respondan, digan bonsoir.
Kata.
Yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo. Yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo. Si no pa comprar que parol mape pale nula, responda, diga
Now the rhythmic pattern here is different than the yuba. It's more lively.
Sayamue bonsoir. Como ribeyo dila, pumue saludaba sayamue bonsoir. Si no pa comprar que parol mape pale nula, responda, diga bonsoir. Yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo. Yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo lo, yo lo lo.
Now we're going to listen to another maison. And this is called Guantánamo.
Societe Guantánamo, hay mutande sana pedinu trarari, trarara. Guantánamo, hermana, la unión es buena.
This is
en
Cuban
todo
patois.
y en cualquier lugar. Unión, felicidad
Spanish.
para las dos.
And she started with
Sociedad
patois
Guantánamo, hermana. Societe Guantánamo, hay mutande sana pedinu.
Composé,
Societe
the choir.
Guantánamo, hay mutande sana pedinu. Trarari, trarara, Guantánamo, hermana. La unión es buena en todo y en cualquier lugar. Unión, felicidad para las dos. Sociedad Guantánamo, hermana.
Kata.
Societe Guantánamo.
Now the rhythmic pattern here is different from the other maison and from the yuba.
Hay mutantes a la pedinu, trarari, trarara, Guantánamo, hermana. La unión es buena en todo y en cualquier lugar. Unión, felicidad para las dos. Sociedad Guantánamo.
And this is what I call Cuban patois. It's a little bit of French, it's a little bit of patois, Haitian, or Creole, and Spanish, a lot of Spanish. And all these pieces were written already in Cuba back in the 18th century when they came in 1791. These were not brought from Haiti.
Todo y en cualquier lugar. Unión, felicidad para las dos. Sociedad Guantánamo, hermana.
They all have something in common. And what they have in common is that the composé star, the choir, and the kata. Before the kata, I know maybe some of you say, oh, she didn't mention there is a whistle, you know. I tell you what the whistle is for. The whistle is actually to change patterns in a dance, to change the choreography, or to change patterns in the music. Now, also, their rhythmic patterns are different. And like I say, I put the second maison or Guantanamo, so you can listen the different one maison and the other maison, what is Cuban patois and what is the regular Creole patois. So having said that, I'm going to go and remind you again of the instruments: premier or mamonier, secondier, the second, bula, which is the bebe and kata, the chachas that are only played by women, and the tambora, which is the little one that you put around your neck. Let me see. Why do we say that this piece has to do with the minuet we heard at the very beginning? Unfortunately, I couldn't play the piano here. That's why I brought that. Because if I will have the piano, I will demonstrate, let me see, the Bach piece is da 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 ri ra ram pam pam ping pa ra ri ra ram pam. The left hand is always pam 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 pa ra ri ra pam pam, and it's single notes. If you listen to the drums, they sort of imitate the right hand by drumming a lot, but the composé and the choir are very simple in their singing, extremely simple, like a minuet. And these pieces are based on the minuet and rigodon of the 18th century French court and dances of the 18th century. So, ping, parariraram, pam, 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 the drums, the tumbas, do all the composé and the choir do the simple part of the minuet, and they are all tang, tarariraram, pam, pam, pam. The same thing with the Mozart minuet, and the same thing with tiraram, param, 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 with the Beethoven minuet. So you have any question? Feel free to ask. Let me see what I want to explain to you. Okay, the maison dance is usually danced in four, with four people dancing at the same time, and they're all dressed up like in the court during the king and queen of France, and they have some like ribbons, not always, but they like to go around the ribbons and start intertwining the color of the ribbons. The yuba is a different kind of dancing, which is again is the oldest and the principal dancer and the closer to the French tradition. And then we have the fronte or frente. When we go there, I'm going to show you now a video. When we go to the frente or fronte is when you dance in front of the tumba. And that later on, you can see from the very beginning that that kind of dancing developed later to be what we call today and what we know today is the guaguancó cubano. And also the rhythms used in the fronte or frente or the tumbas, you can hear those rhythms in the carnivals of Santiago de Cuba or the carnivals of Brazil. So let me show you now the DVD. And I'm going to start with the yuba, which is the oldest and the principal dances of all. But remember, you know, the minuet is very elegant, very simple. The drumming is the part of the melody. The singing is the part of the minuet. The drumming also, this is something that is very interesting about the tumbas, is that the patterns, the rhythmic patterns is always the same. So we call that in classical music basso ostinato. Yuba have a rhythmic pattern, but it's always from the beginning to the end the same thing. The maison have a rhythmic pattern, but it's always the same. It never changes. When you hear the whistle, it's actually to change in the dance, to do another choreography, or to start with the singer, or to start the rhythmic pattern. But it is a basso ostinato from beginning to end. The background of the rhythmic pattern, it stays the same. In the maison, which is the second dance, the whole orchestra plays. In the yuba, you have the kata, bula or bebe, premier and secondier drums. So first we're going to listen to the yuba. Kata. See the kata right there? The little one with the sticks, that's kata. This is a Cuban song. Now look at the footwork. That's the yuba. Kata, premier, secondier, and bula or bebe. In most of these dances, not always, but most of these dances, you don't pick up your feet. In other words, but in the yuba, you do pick up your feet, and this is the closest one to the French style of dancing than the rest. You'll see in the maison, in fronte. In fronte, you already start not only picking up your feet, your legs, but in the maison, you don't pick up the feet. You don't lift it from the floor, you just slice them. See the little one, tambora, on the right side. You see? That's the maison. And you see already there the tambora, the little one. The next one is a fronte or frente, where you can already see what later became the guaguancó cubano, and the rhythms, you can hear them in the carnivals of Santiago de Cuba and Brazil.
So I have a question.
Yes.
You said that they were written down or they were handed down?
Handed down,
Yes.
from family, from grandmother to daughter and so forth.
So at what point was the music actually written, or is it still not written?
Not written. And we start with the UNESCO call it a patrimony of the world. There are only two in the world, and they are in Cuba. The one in Santiago de Cuba and the one in Guantánamo. La Caridad de Oriente in Santiago and the Santa Catalina de Risis in Guantánamo.
So the only way to preserve them is by documenting
Exactly.
the dances and the sound.
Exactly. And there are still a few people left, but they are already in their 80s. Is anybody here who speaks Spanish?
No.
Quite a few, because I also brought a video where I can give you an idea of what the video is about, because it's not translated, and it's a lady in her 80s with a big Cuban cigar like this, smoking. And then when the person ask her, so where is your family from? And she says, French. And the interviewer look at her and say, French? And she said, yes, because they are from Congo, and that's true. Congo was French. And then she says, my grandfather was an slave in Haiti, and then they came to Cuba, And how did you learn all this? By looking, by watching when I was a little girl. And I also sing, and I'm able to sing and know exactly what I'm saying. And don't forget, it's not easy because they have the Creole, they have the Patois, they have the Cuban Patois. So it's not easy. So, you know, if you're willing to see also the video, I can explain to you what they say a little bit in the video, but I think it's a very interesting video. And there are only very few old people left that they trying to hand it, all the information to the young generation, but most of them do not want it because they want to do hip hop. Okay. So here is the fronte o frente. This is in front, the dance is in front of the tumbas. See, right there, you can see the steps of what later is known as the guanguancó. Okay, this is the frente o fronte. I want to say that UNESCO, and I'm going to have to say this in Spanish unless somebody help me out to translate this, because this is really long title that the UNESCO gave to the Tumbas Francesa in Cuba. UNESCO declared the Tumbas Francesas obra maestra del patrimonio oral e inmaterial de la humanidad. Who's willing to translate that? Try it.
So it's obra maestra.
Del patrimonio oral e inmaterial de la humanidad. Inmaterial.
It's a masterpiece of the the oral and material patrimony of humanity.
This is really wonderful because it's only two in the world. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the tumbas. How are they made? Some of you might not like to hear it, but you know, I think it's my duty to share it with you. Let me see. I want to do justice to what I'm going to say here. You already know that the kata is made out of wood, out of the tree trunk. And it's the one that actually establishes the basic rhythm. Tararam, tararam, tararam. Based on those two sticks that start the rhythm, the tumbas improvise around that. The tumbas is actually a lot of improvisation in the tumbas. The bula, or the bebé tambor, is a polyrhythmic sound in that little tambor, in that little tumba. But it has something very specific. That's what I want to share with you. The top of the tumba, you know, the material that they use is from a little lamb. That's one. The other one is, but you don't want to hear this, is that the mother, when she's pregnant, waiting for the little lamb baby, they kill the mother because the skin of the mother at that time is the best to use in the bula tumba, in the bebé tumba. On top of that, they put a string from a guitar to make it vibrate and to give a specific sound. The string goes under the skin of the lamb, and when you play the bula, the sound is different from the mamonier or premiere, from the secondier or second, And the bula have that specific sound with the guitar string underneath and the skin of the mother who just was killed and lost the baby, unfortunately. But hey, you know, they still do it, and that's what makes the sound in the way it is, and that's what they want to hear in the bula instruments. Let's see. Another thing I want to share with you is you saw the dresses. The men dress with tails, and the women dress with very beautiful, elaborated dresses. And again, the bandana, the knot is either on the front or on the back, and it's cotton or silk. When they get together, it's usually in a house. The whole thing becomes in a house. Now they have like a sort of like a club. And when they're dancing in the house, they have images on the wall. In Cuba, they put images of patriots, Antonio Maceo, one of Africa, Africa descent, and he was one of our biggest patriots in Cuba. And they put a photo of him. They put also images of saints. They put the flag. And when the dance begins, that's what I want to show you also the video. When the dance begins, there is a batonière, but they call it batonera. She has a long stick with laces of different colors, and she just, it's like an introduction to the dance, like welcoming everybody to start the dancing. Just go around, just waving to everybody with the batonier. Also, the gastronomy, they use a lot of ajiaco. Ajiaco is a Cuban thing, it's sort of like a soup with a lot of, they're all vegetable in it. And it's a very thick soup with all kind of vegetables, including roots, like yuca and boniato, roots from the Caribbean and from Latin America. All this, when they sit down nowadays and they have ajiaco, they accompany the ajiaco with a very good Cuban rum, Havana Club. And along with that, they listen to son. That is the kind of music that started in Santiago de Cuba. That's another ball game. Got nothing to do with the Tumbas Francesa, but son is S-O-N, and it's typical of Oriente as well. So I think when we talk about tumbas francesas, we think that most people think that it's French. Tumba francesa is not French. Tumba francesa is Africa, is Congo, okay? And it is French because where it was developed, which actually developed in Cuba, what these people had was the dances, the rhythms, but when they came to Cuba, that's when they really gave the name of Tumba Francesas. So they developed this in Cuba, not in Haiti. So Tumbas Francesas is actually what they call to the French drums. But it's not that it's from France, it's actually from Africa. But it's the circumstances and the situation of the time, because they were the slave of French people, and because they're dancing to the music of the minuet and the French court. I would like to show you the video, because the video will give you a complete idea of what we just discussed. You listen to the music, you listen to what a yuba is, which is the principal dance, and the maison, and the fronte, and the video is filmed in the countryside of Santiago de Cuba. These people are very old. Some of them, they probably passed away already. And for those of you who wants a translation, there is the beginning of the yuba. You're going to see dancing yuba. and you're going to see dancing fronte. I'm going to stand right here, and I'm going to be translated to you when it's yuba, when it's fronte, and all that. And also the interview with the old lady, when they ask her, no, my family is French. French? What do you mean French? Congo. And she's right. She's French. And also the descendant of the Tumbas Francesas, they're always from Congo. You know, Cuba is very rich in music. And we have the Yoruba people in Cuba, come from Nigeria. The Yoruba people, they don't know what tumbas is. I have a friend who played fabulous bata drums. That belong to the Yoruba people. And when I talk to him and I say, oh, I'm going to do a presentation in Miami about the Tumbas Francesas, he goes, what is that? So I have to help him out about the tumba. He helped me out about the bata drums. So now I'm helping him out about the Tumbas Francesas. So the Tumba Francesa is Congo. Yeah. See, with the Cuban flag. They are calling everybody to come. That's the signal to let them know that we're starting today, we're having a meeting with the Tumbas. This lady is blind. She lives up in the mountains, and she's blind, but she comes down for the festivity. This is a festivity, this is not a religious thing. He's very sick, but he comes every time. His participation in the tumba is very important, so he comes every time. No matter how sick he is, he shows up. This is Cucú. Cucú is younger, so he comes too. This is welcoming all of them. See, batonier. That's the batonier. This is in Guantánamo, and Santiago de Cuba is invited. The batonier. You remember this song? Ta-ra-ra. See the bandana, the necklaces, preparing one of the tumbas.
Estos hombres y mujeres que se preparan para la fiesta son los herederos de una tradición que viene desde la época de la colonia. En la actualidad solo se mantienen dos grupos, uno en Santiago de Cuba y el otro en Guantánamo.
They're talking about the two groups, Santiago and Guantánamo.
El lugar donde se va a producir esta fiesta es la casa que han conservado a lo largo de los años los actuales miembros de la Sociedad de Tumba Francesa.
And this is the house.
Santa Catalina de Risis.
And this is in Guantánamo. Santa Catalina de Risis, Guantánamo.
Pablo Valier inicia la fiesta con su canto en creol.
See, Pablo Valier, very French last name. Is the old man that who's very sick. Composé. The composé. And the choir. What they're holding in the hands is the chachas.
El mayor o mayora de plaza.
Batonier.
Recuerdan las antiguas jerarquías en los cabildos de negros. A ellos les corresponde dirigir el baile.
Okay, the batonier gives the okay to start the dancing. Now, if you look at the tumbas, they put a lot of color around. They paint them, they put flag, they put people faces, or the face of a saint, or the face of a patriot. See, the chachas. Yes.
A esta primera parte del baile se le denomina maçon, palabra que
Oh,
se deriva del
yes.
vocablo francés
Yes.
maison, que significa casa. Este baile
Now, this is the
una
maison,
imitación de lo que el
maison
esclavo
dance.
veía bailar al francés.
This is what the slaves saw the French owner dancing.
En 1789, la parte francesa de la isla de Santo Domingo era la colonia más rica y poblada de todo el Caribe.
Okay, Haiti.
La alta producción de azúcar y café se lograba mediante la explotación de los negros esclavos traídos de África. En la noche del 14 de agosto de 1791, comenzó
August 14, 1791, the revolution in Haiti. Slaves against their owners.
Esta revolución obligó a emigrar a los colonos franceses, quienes trajeron consigo sus esclavos domésticos. También escapó un sector urbano de la población de Haití, integrado por negros y mulatos libres, que influidos social y culturalmente por los colonos franceses, se alejaban de los esclavos rurales que se enfrentaban a la explotación colonial.
Yeah, I want to say something about a little bit about that. For those of you who do not speak Spanish, what's happening is that the French owners came with their slave, but some of them were not black, were mulattoes, because the French asked the Spaniard, the same situation in Cuba. The Spaniard likes black women. And so the Spaniard mingles, so that's why Cuba have a lot of mulatto. The same thing here. The French liked black women, and they have children. So they not only came with their slave, but they came with their children who were already mulattoes. But these children were high society. They were sent to study in the Sorbonne University, and they went to the best school, and they have their own neighborhood in Santiago de Cuba that they call it La Calle del Gallo. La Calle del Gallo. How do you say? Rooster Street. But it was more than one street. It was a complete neighborhood. And let me tell you something. This guy by the name of Patrick Laplante married the daughter of one of the Russian Karl Marx. Karl Marx's daughter married a Cuban who was a Haitian Cuban from La Calle del Gallo, Patrick Laplante. So I just want to let you know that. So before Cuba became communist, we were already communists because, you know, the daughter of Karl Marx marry a Cuban descendant of the French, of the Haitian. Okay, so let's go on. So slaves became mulattoes, and these mulattoes were already high society. They went to study abroad, and they specialized. They were very well read and versatile. When they came back, they taught languages, they taught music, they were in science, they became lawyers. So it was a very, very upscale society.
Y con ellos el fomento del cultivo del café.
The French owner brought the sugar cane and the coffee, and they started with the coffee plantation in La Gran Piedra, in Santiago de Cuba. They're saying that in the part of Havana, it costs more money to buy land, so they went to Oriente, Santiago de Cuba. They went to the province of Oriente. Now, this is the high society of French owners and the mulattoes' children. They built mansions. You will see one of them. This one, La Isabelica, is one of the mansions. Victor Constantin was the owner.
Los negros y mestizos haitianos llegados a Cuba, producto de la revolución de Haití, se hacen llamar franceses, bien fueran esclavos o libres. También se denominaron franceses a los negros africanos de distintas naciones, comprados posteriormente por los cafetaleros franceses.
I want to say that before we move on, so you all can understand what's going on. These people, whether were slaves or free, black or mulattoes, they all call themselves French. And including the one that came from Congo, they call themselves French as well. Okay, so that's what's going on. Thank you. Now, do you hear the music in the background, right?
La Isabelica fue uno de los recintos donde los colonos franceses mantuvieron las costumbres y la ética de la sociedad francesa.
In this area of Santiago de Cuba, they kept their tradition, their language, their culture. And like I said before, they all built very beautiful mansions. This is
La
a...
adopción del término franceses, esos negros y mestizos trataban de aparentar un rango social superior, al mismo tiempo que ocultaban su verdadera nacionalidad, ya que Haití se había convertido en símbolo de rebelión en el siglo XIX.
Okay, they kept their in disguise their own nationality. They wouldn't talk about that they were Haitian descent, and they make sure they call themselves French. This is the lady who's 80-something. See the batonier and the 80-something-year-old lady. This is La Caridad de Oriente, Tumba Francesa in Santiago de Cuba.
No, franceses.
You see, are they Haitian? No, they're French. They are not Haitian because the Haitian are not from Congo. French are from Congo. My parents, my grandparents and my parents spoke Spanish, Castilian, that's what she said, the real Spanish, Castilian and French. This is in Isabelica. It's very cold up there and you can see it's very foggy because of the weather. They're doing a festivity of the Tumba in Isabelica.
De aquellos inmigrantes haitianos dieron origen a las fiestas de tumbas francesas que inicialmente se daban en los cafetales y a las que se incorporaron.
Listen for the whistle.
Que trataban de imitar las costumbres de sus amos y muchos de aquellos negros y mulatos libertos afrancesados. Pero la cultura de estos grupos era el producto de una confrontación de elementos africanos y franceses.
See, they changed the choreography. The whistle is changing. Change again. See, here with the whistle. The tambora. That's the tambora, hanging from your neck. The bandana, one of the tumbas. The chachas, she's doing the chacha with the right hand. Okay, remember that in the court, in French court?
No, nadie.
Who taught you how to do the tumbas? Nobody.
Yo también iba desde niña
As a little girl, I listened, I watched, I learned.
a cantarlo
I sang, I danced,
y entiendo a tocarlo también.
and I even understand how to play it too.
Ay, un poquito. No mucho, pero un poquito. Con 84 años que tengo, ¿vale?
I still dance tumba not much, but still I'm 84 years old.
Canto que sé lo que voy a decir.
And I sang and I know what I'm going to say. Look at the footwork in this lady. That's patois. Le bâtonnier.
De los israelitas, lo malo, estaban buscando dinero para matarme. No dejen que lo consiga, pues si lo consiguen me matan.
They asked her, what did the song say? I said, the Israeli people are the worst. They're trying to look for money from me, and if I don't have it, they will kill me. The chachas, see the chachas?
Este batón es mi batón de mi iniciación en el 44.
This is the bâtonnier.
Fui segunda mayora de plaza, que es el oficio de la batonera. Durante ese tiempo, cuando va a salir, empezar el baile, pues uno va meciendo la cinta en la sala, como un adorno. Arriba de los bailadores,
That's just to embellish.
la batonera va pasándole la cinta por arriba,
Got nothing to do with religion or anything.
en la sala. Después, fui mayora de plaza, primera mayora de plaza.
Now look at the footwork. They don't lift the feet from the floor.
Está la...
She's speaking about the different ranks in what a bâtonnier is all about. The president,
reina cantadora.
then the queen, the singer.
Es el verdadero baile francés.
This is the yuba. This is the original French dance. The yuba
El yuba es el más antiguo de los bailes.
is the oldest of the three. Look at this, see? The footwork.
Perteneces a elementos coreográficos desaparecidos con el tiempo.
No. The footwork is original. You don't lift the feet from the floor in the yuba. But in the fronte you saw all this improvisation and all that.
La música de la tumba se ejecuta con 4 tambores: catá, premier, bulá y segó. En realidad, estos tambores nada
These are the tumbas.
sino de africanos.
Do you see how the house is? The Cuban flag and on the way up there is. See, she's playing kata. That's the kata. Listen, it's a different sound. The kata. Kata starts and then the tumbas start. But kata has to start first. The bâtonnier. See the bâtonnier welcoming everybody. Now, when they dance fronte or frente, they improvise in their dances. And you will see that pronto. See, the rhythm is the same.
De dar el frente, le atan al bailador pañuelos de colores.
This is frente.
Forma de distinguirlo, pero no tiene ninguna connotación religiosa. Si bien
Okay, this is what they're saying. They put a little handkerchief, around their arm, but got nothing to do with religion.
tuvieron que legalizar su situación,
This is in the mountains of Santiago.
en la mayoría
That's Santiago de Cuba.
fue el del santo patrón que regía el pueblo. Esto explica que la actual sociedad de tumba francesa de Santiago de Cuba recibiera el nombre La Caridad de Oriente. En Guantánamo,
This is Guantánamo.
Santa Catalina de Risis.
This is the other. See, they have images of the saint, but got nothing to do with religion. This is the frente. They improvise. It's an introduction to the guaguancó cubano.
El frente consiste en un duelo entre la improvisación rítmica del premier.
Improvisation, rhythmic improvisation from the tumbas and rhythmic improvisation dancing from the dancer.
Francés demuestra nuevamente sus raíces africanas.
And he says here that the tumba francesa and the French dancing demonstrate one more time the roots Africa.
La tumba francesa siempre fue una manifestación cultural de un grupo específico dentro de la sociedad cubana.
Okay, this is always being a cultural demonstration and festivity within the Cuban culture.
Llamar franceses. Si bien esta denominación fue utilizada en un momento para ocultar el origen haitiano,
They use the word French to disguise themselves from the word Haitian.
y a pesar de llevar el nombre de baile francés y de adoptar ciertas formas coreográficas europeas, tiene sus raíces más auténticas en África y Haití.
Okay, the dances, the choreography of the dances are typical European, but the rhythms, the instruments, and the music itself is from Africa and Haiti. Now, do you hear them? Those rhythms start already developing what later you know as the carnavales in Santiago de Cuba and the carnavales in Brazil. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time. Bye. So now you know that the minuet has something to do with the tumba francesas. Minuet and rigodon. Exactly. Exactly. And you see how rich Cuba is with all this. We preserve everything. And we,
I wonder if also it's like that in Brazil too.
yes. But the Brazil doesn't have the tumbas. Only Cuba has the tumbas francesas. It's the only country that have the tumbas
Because of
francesas.
the French immigration, sure.
Yeah. And
Not
they
Haiti?
preserve. No, no.
Nothing's in Haiti.
No, no, nothing.
They don't have any large
No.
musical traditions.
Nothing,
or-
nothing.
Huh, that's interesting.
Very interesting. It's only Cuba, like UNESCO says. Patrimonio de la humanidad.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.